Thank you all for joining us to honor my very dear friend, Israel Policy Forum's Vice Chairman, Bob Goodkind, to recognize Jim Wolfensohn for all of his efforts towards Middle East peace, and to hear from the Honorable Tzipi Livni, who has been a tireless champion for Israel's future. And I would add, Tippi literally flew in just for this event. She arrived this morning and she's leaving to fly back to Israel tonight. So thank you, Tippi. Our cause, Israel Policy Forum's vision, is a secure, Jewish, and democratic state of Israel. Our mission is to support the goal of a viable two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that would provide for Israel's security needs and ensure that Israel remains secure, Jewish, and democratic. We seek to elevate the discourse and to educate policymakers in Washington, opinion shapers, and leaders in the Jewish community nationwide. But our mission, a viable two-state solution, remains under assault and is becoming ever more elusive. As positions harden in Jerusalem and Ramallah, and as the administration has taken numerous steps that have only made the path toward meaningful negotiations that much harder. The most recent example is the decision just last week to close the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem and lump all Palestinian constituent services under the rubric of the U.S. Embassy, a move that further indicates to Israelis and Palestinians that the United States is no longer serious about seeking a two-state solution or playing a credible role to diffuse tensions and advance a viable resolution to the conflict. Today, it is critical that together with our friends and colleagues in Israel, we make our case to policymakers, opinion shapers, and community leaders. Although the ultimate deal is not attainable in the current political environment, Israelis, Palestinians, and the United States must work to preserve, advance, and ultimately achieve a two-state solution. In short, there is no other solution. The task ahead is enormously difficult, but giving up on our mission would have disastrous implications for Israel's future, for the U.S.-Israel alliance, and for the Israel-diaspora relationship. We must not allow that to happen. At this especially challenging moment, our organization is committing itself to a set of core values that will drive our work going forward. I would like to share these values with you tonight. Our first value is intellectual integrity. We believe that facts matter, now more than ever. Yes, facts do matter. And that credible and honest information is critical to understanding these difficult and complex issues. Research is important. Our work will continue to be rooted in policy analysis developed by an array of leading Israeli and American security and policy experts. Second, forthrightness. We cannot sugarcoat the challenges we face today. They are indeed significant. We must communicate directly and honestly about how to overcome them. Our work is therefore based on constructive, pragmatic proposals, not political sloganeering. Our third value is partnership. We believe in collaborative efforts by the United States and Israel, by Israelis and Palestinians, and by organizations throughout the American Jewish landscape. We at Israel Policy Forum are committing today to always seek to work in partnership with Israelis and Israeli organizations like the Commanders for Israel Security, with an array of Washington-based policy organizations, and with American Jewish organizations nationwide. Working in partnership, We will strive to create a more constructive discourse in Washington and in the Jewish community, engaging leaders from across political, denominational, and generational spectrums. Fourth, Zionism. We are proud to be pro-Israel. We believe that the U.S.-Israel alliance must remain strong and that ensuring the future of Israel-diaspora relations is critical to the future of both of our communities. Our positions and our work will always be rooted in a deep commitment to Israel's security. But please mark my words, being pro-Israel does not mean cheerleading on behalf of policies and actions that are at odds with Israel's Jewish, democratic, and secure future. We reserve the right to wear the pro-Israel mantle proudly and out of love for the state and the people of the Jewish homeland. And since in the Torah, matters of supreme importance are often repeated, I'm going to say this again. We reserve the right to wear the pro-Israel mantle proudly and out of love for the state and the people of the Jewish homeland. Our last core value is perseverance. We must work to safeguard the two-state solution against those who would wish to undermine it. We must then work to advance it. Then we must support achieving a negotiated two-state agreement. And finally, we must support its implementation and sustain it. The road ahead is far from easy, but we are proud to move forward on this path, to continue in the tradition of the Jewish people in our steadfast commitment to Zion, to persevere in focused pursuit of our mission. These are the values that drive our work. They will serve to shape our analysis, our policy resources, our public programs, and our engagement with leaders in Washington and in the Jewish community. I welcome you to join us in our commitment to these values and to our mission. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for demonstrating your support for this work by being here this evening.
As a young boy, indelible in my mind are numerous photos on my grandpa's desk of him shaking hands with important people like Nelson Mandela, George Bush, Bill Clinton, and other politicians. I remember being confused and asking my sister, how does Grandpa know to use Photoshop when he could hardly get the printer to work? She laughed and told me the photos were real. As I've grown older, I've come to appreciate that my grandpa engages in conversations not only with famous leaders, but with all walks of life in its continued perseverance of Tikkun Olam. Grandpa Bob, you've traveled the world. You've spoken thoughtfully and passionately with world leaders. You're one of the most generous people I know. You're incredibly hardworking. He's still a full-time attorney, a great leader to the Jewish community, and you make a pretty cool grandfather. You inspire me to read every day, to listen, to be humble, to be diplomatic, but to be strong in my conviction. We have learned from your success and will continue to strive to do better each and every day. Thank you, and I love you, Grandpa Bob.
We're gathered together this evening at a most important moment regarding two significant issues, which I know each of you cares deeply about. The first is the direction of Israel's future identity, which is threatening to tilt against democracy in a number of areas. The second is the relationship between Israel and American Jewry, which has reached crisis proportions. I respectfully submit that the Israel Policy Forum is an ideal vehicle, if not the ideal vehicle, to address these issues, and therefore that it is the true honoree this evening. Why is this? Because regarding Israel's identity, IPF is correct in its advocacy for two states so as to assure that Israel fulfills its founders' dream to be secure, democratic, and Jewish. While there is despair about this as a current possibility, IPF's partnership with the 285 former IPF generals that have come together under the rubric of Commanders for Israel's Security, this partnership enhances IPF's impact in endeavoring to keep alive the prospects for two states until there are courageous statesmen as leaders of both sides. Regarding the increasing schism between Israel and American Jews, it is particularly acute among generations junior to mine. IPF Atid, as you have heard, and IPF generally, are successful in drawing members because they reach the liberal Zionist community where it is, or hopes to be. That is, looking for an honest, nonpartisan space to learn about the issues and to discuss them together. IPF's narrow focus on the two-state solution is a magnet for young American Jews because it allows for very specific goal-oriented projects and programs, all of which are in support of the same vision: two states for two peoples. The task of IPF, Israel Policy Forum, is monumental. We must expand its reach and mobilize the center of the American Jewish community, and mobilize our government leaders in Washington, as well as policymakers and communal leaders, for action on pragmatic solutions. My wish is for each of us here to become a greater part of the Israel Policy Forum and its mission. Let all here become an informed part of our family. Thank you very much.
As Susie described earlier, Israel Policy Forum's work is aimed at impacting policymakers in Washington and leaders in the Jewish community. We have honored Bob Goodkind tonight as an exemplary leader in the Jewish community, and we are pleased tonight to also provide special recognition to Jim Wolfensohn, who has been a leader in seeking to advance policies that would secure a two-state solution. But of course, Jim has done so much more. As a young man, he met with early Zionist leaders with his father. This is someone who served as a member of the Australian Olympic team. He then reached the heights of the world of finance. He served as president of the World Bank, receiving honorary awards and certificates from countless nations across the globe. He became an accomplished musician. He played the cello on multiple occasions at Carnegie Hall with the likes of Yo-Yo Ma and Bono. He is now a recognized leader in the world of philanthropy, and of course, he served as the quartet's special envoy at a critical moment in the recent history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where he was regarded for his personal commitment to advancing the goal of lasting peace and security for Israelis and Palestinians alike. Jim Wolfensohn's story is genuinely like no other. You might even say he's the most interesting man in the world. I've had the privilege to spend time with Jim and get to know him, get to know this truly rare Renaissance man, and I'm so pleased that tonight we at Israel Policy Forum are able to acknowledge his longstanding commitment to our mission. So please, I ask you to join me in welcoming Sir James Wolfensohn to the stage. Thank you, Jim.
I want to say how proud I am to be speaking here at all, and how proud I am to be doing it with the other two honorees. During my years at the bank, I had many opportunities to deal with the issues in the Middle East. I met with all the Arab leaders over the course of my 10 years. I met them all with the former King of Saudi Arabia, and I said to him, I'm a nice Jewish boy and I'm worried about how I'm going to behave and whether I'm going to be accepted with all the Arab countries. He had given me a dinner or a lunch actually, for 300 people. And he then got up and said, "We know you, Jim. We trust you, and you can assume that we're with you. We want to work with you." He said, "We have a few problems with a little Jewish state down there, but I think we'll work that out too." But it gave me the opportunity on behalf of not only the World Bank, but really the Jewish people, to say quite frankly to all the friends in the Arab countries, which I visited very, very frequently, just what was the intent and the idea and the ideas of Israel and the Jewish community around the world. And I must say that there was a lot of misunderstanding. But what I said to them was what I think is the basis of this organization, that we have had lots of people talking about how Israel is going to work out, how the Arab world is going to work out. I'm deeply committed in my own beliefs to having a bipartisan resolution of the Israel issue, to see that the views of Arabs and Jews in the same country can be recognized and can be something that will lead to a good understanding between Arabs and Israelis that will allow us to build on a program that is based on the people in the country, roughly 50-50 at the moment, not having to worry about the numbers in the future, but trying to develop an Israel that is clear in its objectives, which shows no malice to its citizens, and which will allow it not just to be a Jewish state, but to be a leading state in terms of values for us all to follow. I'm particularly grateful to be here tonight. I'm particularly grateful that I only have to speak for 5 minutes, and I can listen to the words from Israel. But I just want to say to you that I'm grateful for the honor and the award, and I look forward very much to a second invitation when high-powered people are not here from Israel, and I shall be able to say a few words to say how wonderful she is going to be tonight and everything that she's going to say to us. I'm very grateful to you, and I look forward so much to hearing you, and I hope you all enjoy the evening. Thank you so very much.
Tzipi Livni is an incredible person. She has values that she holds dear to her heart. She sees the Israel, and she'll talk about it tonight, I hope, of the future, the Israel that we all want, the Israel that we all need. We need each other. Israel needs us. We need Israel. But we need an Israel that can stand tall to the world. In the world of business, in the world of medicine, in the world of law, in just about every scientific part of the world, Israel does stand tall. She's having problems with her political face. She's having problems with who are we going to be. But don't forget something. She's only 70 years old. Where was this country when she was 70 years old? Not nearly as far as Israel has become. Her people are wonderful. Her people are creative. Her people are terrific. Some of her politicians, maybe not. There is one politician who I know, and Rita, my dear wife, knows, who is sensational and who I've been a fan of for a number of years, not as long as you, Jim. It is my real privilege to introduce to you a great leader of Israel, a great leader of the Jewish people, and someone who I admire and frankly adore, Tzipi Livni.
Oh, please. Thank you all. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for your contribution to the State of Israel. And I really made this crazy trip just for one day to be here with you this evening and to say thank you for your contribution, not only to the State of Israel, but for sharing the same vision that I believe is the best vision, the only vision that can keep the State of Israel as a Jewish, democratic, secured state. Many thanks to Susie Gelman, to Bob. Can I borrow your grandson once in a while as mine also? And special thanks for a special friend, Charles Bronfman, who really contributes to Israel. I think that you caused many young people to fall in love with Israel and maybe in each other in birthright. Did you check how many couples came out of birthright after visiting Israel? Contributing in education, giving hope and future for so many Israelis. And I know that you have some concerns now about the future of the State of Israel and the values of the State of Israel. I have as well, and we are going to speak about it later. And when I was invited here, and basically I'm here because I cannot say no to Charles, and since I promised and I'm here, I'm not sure that you knew before that I worked with Jim Wolfensohn. No, they took me out of the pictures, as you could see. But yet we spent hours and hours together during the disengagement from Gaza. It was critical time for the State of Israel, lots of problems, so sensitive issues, and you were there thinking both about Israelis and Palestinians, trying to find solution, so hopeful, investing time and money, and being such a friend. I learned so much from you. And by the way, I started to learn drums after I heard what you are doing with your cello. And I'm thinking now about the situation in Gaza, and we were hopeful. For the Palestinians, I still remember us thinking what they can build there. What about the greenhouses there? But I want to say something to you and to all of us. The fact that the Palestinians made another choice doesn't mean that we were wrong, because it was the right thing to do, to leave Gaza, to leave it for the Palestinians, and to give them hope for a better life. And I can tell you also politically in Israel, those that are criticizing the disengagement, they would never suggest, even now, to reoccupy Gaza, to replan, to rebuild the settlements and Gush Katif within Gaza Strip. No way. Because we were right, because we did the right thing, and because we need to continue in doing the right thing also when it comes to the West Bank. Now, so many times when we are speaking about Israel and the people and leaders are speaking about Israel, they start by speaking and sharing the nature of the threats that we are facing. And it is true that Israel is a small state surrounded by enemies. This is the tough neighborhood in which we live, the Middle East. This is a fact. It's not a vision. And Israel is great, unfortunately, during wars, military operations. We are all united. We know how to help each other. You are standing with us in during these days. But frankly, being together or being united against those that are against us, it's touching, but it's not enough, because we need to have a vision to be for something and not just against our enemies. Okay, so let's speak about our shared vision, but in order to speak about the vision for the future, I would like to take us for a moment back 70 years ago, for a special day in which a young couple got married in Tel Aviv. Both of them were freedom fighters in the Irgun. They met while robbing a British money train. They took the money in order to get weapons for the underground. Both of them were imprisoned and escaped from prison. And they decided to get married 70 years ago. Now, this is an historic day. Firstly, because they were my parents. Now, I'm sure that you are saying, okay, what does she want? She's talking about the day in which her parents got married as an historic day. Yes, because this was the same day in which the State of Israel was established. And right after Ben-Gurion read the Scroll of Independence, the rabbi in Tel Aviv read the Ketubah of my parents. And they are the first couple who got married in the independent State of Israel, and I know that they are the first couple because it's Sfirat HaOmer between Passover and Shavuot. Jews cannot get married during these days. But you don't know my grandmother. She forced the rabbi of Tel Aviv to set the marriage. But seriously, as a young couple, they had a dream. And they believe in the rights of the Jewish people on the entire land. The symbol of the Irgun was Greater Israel, both sides of Jordan River. Both of them died, and according to their request, this map of Greater Israel is tattooed on the stones, on their grave. But they also believed in equal rights to all the citizens of the newborn state. They believe that Judaism is not just about the rights of the Jewish people on the entire land, but it is also about equality. And therefore, in a way, their dream as a young couple for their children was quite like the dream of the newly born State of Israel. Because what is written in the Scroll of Independence? That Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people with equal rights to all its citizens. And these are the values that we should keep together. And as my parents fought for the existence of the State of Israel, what I'm doing now in politics is fighting for the existence of the State of Israel, but not just for the mere existence of the state. It's not only about security, it's also about security. It is also about keeping the existence of the values of the State of Israel alive. Having the values of the State of Israel as a Jewish democratic state living in harmony and not in contradiction. And this is part of our responsibility. So when we are speaking about our vision is not a Palestinian state. My vision is not even 2 states for 2 people. Our vision is Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people with equal rights to all its citizens, keeping both sides of the same equation, secured state in the ancient land of Israel, but not on the entire land. Now, this is the obvious. This is the obvious for us. But unfortunately, the obvious that was in 1948 when the State of Israel was established is not obvious anymore. And when I'm speaking with the world Jewry, with leaders of Jewish communities, with young people, I started this day, I also gave a speech in Columbia University. Basically what happened is that the grandparents cried with joy when the State of Israel was established as the miracle. Their children were horrified. In Yom Kippur, before 6 days, when the State of Israel was under attack, unfortunately, some of their grandchildren feel alienated to the State of Israel. And we need to understand that it's a must to open a new dialogue between Israel and the world Jewry. And it should be a new dialogue, and we should take aside the old dialogue saying, yes, we are there for you as a safe shelter in case of anti-Semitism, and you would support us no matter what. No. We are there for you. You are here for us. But we need to speak about what does it mean for all of us to be a Jewish democratic state. And this is the dialogue that we should have. So let's speak a little bit about this. So what does it mean, a Jewish state? Well, firstly, this is the nation state of the Jewish people. It was created as such. It's not connected to the fact that Judaism is also a religion, because Zionism, the idea of Zionism was to create a state as part of the rights of the Jewish people for a state of their own. And the meaning is that the state of Israel is not going to be an halachic state. And therefore, the monopoly of the Jewishness of the state of Israel shouldn't be given to the hands of ultra-Orthodox party in the state of Israel. And what I have to say about what does it mean to be a Jewish state is good as any other rabbi in Israel. And what you have to say, reforms and conservative, on the nature of the state of Israel as a Jewish state is good as what the ultra-Orthodox in Israel have to say about it. And therefore, we need to understand and to give a space to any Jew to express his Judaism in a manner he or she wants. And talking about a space, the meaning also to give a space in the Western Wall to every Jew and every family who wants to express and to pray in the Western world. And it also means that conversion should be something that unites all of us and doesn't divide us. And this is the true meaning of being a Jewish state. And it's okay to have this in a basic law in Israel. I'm not against it. My entire life, the reason for me to be in politics is to keep Israel as a nation state of the Jewish people. But to take just one part of the scroll of independence, to take just one part of this equation, to take just one leg from the two legs that Israel is standing upon, and to say that this is the only thing that represents the state of Israel, this is something that we will not and cannot accept. Because another principle, which is part of who we are, is being a democracy. And equal rights is not a favor that the Jewish state is doing to Israel as a democracy, because equality is part of our values as Jews. Because love thy neighbor is not written in the American Constitution, it's ours. And basically, equal rights and equality can be the hyphen between Jewish democratic state. This can be the common denominator. And therefore, instead of legislating basic laws that are taking just one part of the scroll of independence, we should legislate both. And I put on the Knesset table another bill, another basic law, saying something very simple. One sentence, that the scroll of independence would be a basic law and the future constitution of the state of Israel. Nation state of the Jewish people with equal rights to all its citizens. Now, it's not a secret that Israel is changing. And I am worried not only as Israeli because the world is changing, and democracies are changing all over the world. And we see these trends of populism, of hatred, of fear, of those that are breaking the values and the rules that he used to live and believe in. And I do believe in these values today. But I believe that we need to be united also and fight for these values together. I mean, liberals of the world, unite. I'm going to do it in Israel. You are going to do it here. There are those believing in these values, but they feel in a way lonely in their own states. And we need to be united and fight for it together. And I mean, when I hear the Minister of Justice of the State of Israel saying that democracy is just, majority rules, and I need to explain to young people that democracy is a set of values, this is something that was the obvious before and it's not obvious anymore. Rule of law, freedom of speech, free press, an independent legal system, all these things that were part of Israel now are being under attack. So when we see trends of delegitimizing political opponents or civil society activists, we need to stand and to speak up and to fight for their right to represent no matter what. Because this is the meaning of democracy. And when in Israel, parties, activists, NGOs are being delegitimized for what they believe in, my role, my responsibility is to stand with them and to say that this is the meaning of being not only a democracy, but this is also means that being a Jewish democratic state is also to give the possibility to everybody to speak up and not to give the government the possibility to delegitimize them. Okay, now that it's clear, excuse me. Now that it's clear what we are talking about when we say Jewish democratic state, we need to draw some conclusions from this. And this takes us to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And I will use, Israel is a startup nation, so I would use Waze, GPS. And basically, I'll speak about the debate that is happening also in Israel, but this is the real distinction between us in the opposition and the current Israeli government. Because our national GPS is, our destination is Jewish, democratic, secured state. And therefore, we need to stop in a station. Because in order to keep Israel as a Jewish state, we need a Jewish majority. There is no Jewish state without a Jewish majority. And Israel is not going to be an apartheid state with Jewish minority without equal rights. And therefore, we need to stop in a station. Hopefully, this would be the peace station. Reaching peace with the Palestinians, separating ourselves from the Palestinians. Hopefully, we will reach an agreement with the other side. But frankly, Martin Indig is there, sitting here, April 2014, we were almost there. And I can criticize the other side, the Palestinians from now till eternity. It's not important now. Because the debate in Israel saying, okay, we don't have a partner, all these questions about the partner is irrelevant for a while, because what is most important is the debate that we have inside Israel about the vision and the destination of the state of Israel. So using Waze, problems with the partner, traffic jams. So we can wait for a while. We should find other roads in order to reach the same destination. As long as we keep the road open, and frankly, more settlements are obstacles on the road for peace. And we need to keep on going, understanding that this is our destination, even if we have some problems on the way. Unfortunately, part of the Israeli politicians, including within this government, have completely different destination in their national ways. What they write is Greater Israel. And they know that if we would keep the entire land, we will reach a moment in which we would not have a Jewish majority. So they stop in another station. It's not station for peace. When I want to separate ourselves from the Palestinians on the basis of 2 states for 2 peoples, they want to separate Israel from our democracy. And this is why you see all these trends and bills and speeches against Supreme Court, against or putting this nation bill that takes just one side without any willingness to add equality or school of independence or Jewish democratic state. This is part of the process that Israel is taken while we are talking about Jewish democratic state. They are changing the nature of the state of Israel as a Jewish democratic state. Now, it's not easy to say. Usually these things I say in Hebrew in Israel. But I believe that when we share the same vision and the same values, you should know the truth. And we should have this dialogue. But I'll go back to our ways. Nobody needs to choose between peace and security, because our vision, as I said before, Jewish, democratic, secure state in the land of Israel. And unfortunately, there are those saying something like, okay, you need to choose between peace and security, and this is quite an easy choice. I mean, everybody would choose security. So first of all, security is not the monopoly of right wing in Israel. By the way, it's not the monopoly of generals. And excuse me, it's not also a monopoly of men. Yep. Now, talking about security, the right strategy, when we look at the region for a while, from a bird-eye point of view, we see these small states surrounded by enemies, which is true. We have extreme religious groups or states like Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas. There is no hope for peace with them. But we have also some, well, I'm not sure that I would use the word moderate now, but pragmatic Sunni Arab states. And they understand that Iran is their threat, not Israel. So they put in 2002 the Arab Peace Initiative. They want normalization with Israel, but they cannot do it because of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is their glass ceiling. So I believe that we need to have peace with the Palestinians because this is an Israeli interest. It's not a favor to any American president or to the Arabs. But if we reach peace with them, this would change strategically the situation of Israel in the region. Just imagine new alliances that we can have. It's not going to be any more small states surrounded by enemies. So we are taking some calculated risk in making peace. I'm not talking about peace in a kind of a naive, romantic manner, I'm sorry. But look what we can get by achieving peace with the Palestinians. So this is one thing. Secondly, talking about security, the relations between Israel and the United States are crucial for Israel's security, and therefore, we need to keep the relations bipartisan. And those that are working with the United States on the basis of one party are harming Israel's security, not less. Speaking about security, as a sovereign, independent state, we have a great army, the strongest in the region. And therefore, the army, IDF, is giving Israel security, not settlements. Settlements are part of another vision. And I believe that it's immoral to send civilians to give security to other civilians. This is the reason why we have this great army. And therefore, talking about settlements as part of Israel's security is wrong. This is the excuse for those who would like to annex the territories and prevent us from achieving peace in the future. And we need to understand it and speak up against it. Now, frankly, the situation is quite complicated. And for many years, we had on the other side those who could deliver but didn't want to make peace with Israel. Sometimes we had those that we thought that they want to make peace with Israel, but they cannot deliver. And now we have both. We have Hamas in Gaza Strip. There is no hope for peace with them. They are not willing to accept the right of Israel to exist, to renounce violence and terrorism, to accept former agreements, Oslo agreement between Israel and the Palestinians, but they can deliver. On the other side, we have Abu Mazen, we have Fatah. They represent a national conflict, not a religious conflict, but they are too weak. So the idea, as I said before about the region, that we need to work with the moderates against the extremists, this is what we should do also with the Palestinians. Abu Mazen is weak, but they are cooperating on Israel's security on a daily basis against Hamas, against terror. So we should work with them, give them some hope, continue the cooperation, and work with them, and hopefully bring them also to Gaza in order to change Hamas in the future so we would have in Gaza a legitimate government that works with Israel. But unfortunately, what the government is doing is completely the opposite. For 4 years now, when Hamas is attacking Israel, the Prime Minister is speaking against Abu Mazen. Instead of helping Abu Mazen to be stronger, they are trying to reach an agreement with Hamas. And we don't want Gaza Strip to become legitimate Hamastan, because this can be the end of the idea of 2 states for 2 peoples. Because Hamas, when they speak about a Palestinian state 67 line, it's fine, but they are not willing to say that this is an end to the conflict. And therefore, all the idea of 2 states for 2 peoples means that this is the end of conflict based on 2 states for 2 peoples, when each state gives an answer to national aspiration of different peoples. Israel for the Jewish people and the Palestinian state for the Palestinians. End of conflict, end of claim. This is all the idea. Because our idea is not just to create another, I don't know, failed state or another state in the region. I mean, we have enough of those. So this should be the strategy. And it's not only for peace, it also serves Israel's security. And therefore, I continue saying that the choice is not between peace or security. It's between peace and security, or one state, which is not going to be a Jewish state, and terror inside. Because Israel is a state without a border, you know. So instead of having a border, what they want is to annex part or all of the territories, and then we have all this terror inside. So this is the real choice for every Israeli. Well, we are all waiting now for the new proposal, the ultimate deal of the President of the United States. Well, frankly, I want to tell you something. When he had this meeting with Netanyahu, his first meeting when Netanyahu came to the States, and he said, you know what, I want a deal. I truly don't care, 1 state, 2 state, 3 state. No, I was happy. I'll tell you why. Because a deal means, I'm a lawyer by profession, by the way, a better lawyer than politician. So when somebody wants a deal, in order to have a deal, you need 2 sides. So if all the idea is to reach a deal, you need to put something on the table that both sides can live with, that they can agree to it. So if the idea, I don't know what's going to be. I don't know what's in it. I'm not sure that there is anybody who really knows. I hope that it would be something that both sides would agree to. I'm not sure that this is the situation. I hope and pray that this would not be something that the Palestinians would say no to, and in Israel it would be the excuse to say again and again and again that there is no partner on the other side, so let's annex the territories and forget the idea of 2 states for 2 peoples. So on one hand, I hope that it would be positive. And frankly, I'm also scared and worried that this would lead us to more frustration, violence, and completely lack of hope. So this is really the division amongst the Israelis. 2 different national ways, 2 different directions, 2 different understanding what does it mean to be a Jewish democratic state, 2 different understanding what does it mean to be a democracy. And this is the choice. And my choice between having the entire land of Israel without Israel as a Jewish democratic state, my choice is to have a Jewish democratic state, secured state, within the land of Israel, but not on the entire land. I know that this is our common vision. I know that we have support in different communities in the United States. I know that as in Israel, it's becoming less legitimate to speak about it because there is no hope, there is no partner on the other side, what's the use of it, security, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. This is the only way to keep Israel's values alive. This is the only way to keep Zionism alive. And therefore, we should work together in Israel and you here in order to keep this vision alive, because otherwise Israel would not stay and would not keep our values as a Jewish democratic state. Now, 2 short stories. One about, I shared with you the story about my parents, what they believed in, Greater Israel. When I decided to join politics, my father, who was also a member of parliament from Likud party, was not alive. Well, once I had this discussion with him, I asked him about politics because in Likud, mostly there are families, they are there supporting their family member within the central committee. And he said, listen, if you want to join politics, I would be glad if you would do so, as long as you promise me that this is for ideological reasons. I was a lawyer by profession. I watched politics. I said no. I decided to join politics a few weeks before the assassination of Prime Minister Rabin. And the state of Israel was divided between 2 different camps. One called himself the camp of the land of Israel, and they were talking about the rights of the Jewish people on the entire land and not to give the enemy an inch. And I said, okay, I feel the same. I do remember 1967, the days after the war. My father took me, I still remember how I felt in my first visit to the Western Wall, to the Tomb of Rachel, to all these places. I feel the same. But since I believe in the state of Israel, we need to divide the land. But then I watched my friends from left wing, and they were waiting for the new Middle East to fall on our shoulders. And I told you I'm a lawyer, so I said, okay, I read Oslo Agreement, and I said, okay, this is not really an agreement. It is more a memorandum of understanding, postponing all the core issues to the end. And I felt that my voice was not being heard. That yes, we have rights on the entire land, but yes, we need to achieve peace, but to do it in a manner that would give an answer to all the core issues. And this is the reason it was in Yom Kippur, a few weeks before the assassination, I decided to join politics. Now, my mother really believed, she was really a warrior and ideological woman. She used to go to the Samaria and believing in Greater Israel. And I started talking about peace, two states, Palestinian state, and I hope that she doesn't listen. And one day it was, I still remember that, it was Friday, I gave an interview and I said the forbidden words, Palestinian state. And I got a phone call, my mother, and she said, listen, Tzipi, I hear you. It breaks my heart, it harms. But you know what? I see young people living for America. We fought to establish a state not only for us, the old guys. So we made what we needed to do for you. Now you can make the decision for my grandchildren, your children. And just after she died in the Shiva, I heard before she died, she was in a home for elder people with members from the Irgun. And then I heard that when I started talking about the Palestinian state and two states, that they called her the mother of the traitor. And she didn't tell me that. And I asked her friend in the Shiva, so what did she answer? And her answer was, she's my daughter, and my daughter is always right. I hope my voters would understand it one day. But anyway, I finish with this story about Ariel Sharon, because I don't want to finish, this evening with a kind of, not very optimistic ending. So Arik Sharon used to tell about him as a young child going with his parents to the field. They were farmers. And it's Israel, it's very hot. He was young, and he was looking to the end of the field, saying to his father, let's go home. It's very hot, and we have so much to do. So his father used to say, don't look forward, look backwards at what we already achieved. So let's look back at the state of Israel. It's really a miracle. Startup nation, great economy, great army, great people, with you supporting it, so we have something to be proud of. Thank you.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more. Simply visit the JBS website at jbstv.org and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check to JBS, P.O. Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.